you told me that, I still don't get what that is. So, I mean,
So like,
no
so like
pain is
going
ever
through
pointless.
school. I think there are certain cases where it is just because, I mean, like you might provide some value, but compared to like what you could be doing with other things, it's not necessarily
Well, it's not
super valuable.
pointless then. It's still like there's still value in it.
I
You
mean,
know?
it depends on your definition of being pointless, but yeah.
Like, I mean, I think school's like not pointless at all. But I mean, like
I think certain
it doesn't
classes
provide
are kind of
value.
pointless.
I mean, it doesn't provide value in the sense of like where I want to be in the future, but it provides value in other ways, right? Like
Actually, this would be a really interesting one. It's just like the definition of things being pointless, because it's all completely subjective on like the actions that you take and what you want to take and what you want to do to whether or not something's pointless. And so like whether or not something's pointless is always changing because you could take our science classes and be like, this is pointless, and then 30 years down the road become an earth scientist and be like, oh well, maybe that actually wasn't so pointless. So it like always
dude,
changes.
let's do it.
Okay.
Start the episode right now. Keep talking.
Oh,
Keep
I
talking.
totally didn't realize that you were recording already. Um, but yeah. Should I do an intro too?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
Screw the intros. Like we should start like this every single time.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds good. Okay, yeah. That's kind of like the basic idea that was like, how many things are actually pointless? We talk about all these things in life that we think are completely worthless. And there's so many times where they're one, either not, or number two, they are at the time, and maybe they will be for the next 20 years or something. But then that changes. So I give the example, maybe you're taking programming classes or something, and you're like, this is stupid, this is pointless, this isn't what I want to do with my life. But then 20 years down the road, you actually end up becoming a programmer or something. And it's like, oh, wow, I actually, these classes weren't super pointless. And I do remember some material from them. And so it's like, maybe trying to see things in a little bit more of a positive light. I do this all the time where I hate on school classes literally 24/7. And you never know if there are going to be classes that might actually be really valuable for me in the future.
Yeah, here's something interesting. So, like that's the dilemma, right? So, like you might hate programming, like class right now, but like the question is, should you invest time to actually learn programming if you don't like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like because I think like the mindset a lot of people have is like, I'm just gonna learn this and learn that and learn that and learn that and learn that, just so in the future, if I need to use it, I will know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like I don't think that's a good mindset, right?
I agree.
It's like you shouldn't learn with the mindset of learning everything just in case you might need in the future. So I think being directed in your learning is much more important than being like more like a jack of all trades. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I think because I think if you want to learn a bunch of things, you should always learn to apply. I think if you do want to
Yeah.
be a jack of all trades, that's great, but make sure you're actually applying it, because the reality is you can take classes in literally every subject that mankind has ever created, but you're going to forget most of it. But if you have actual experiences to tie to your memories, you're probably going to remember a lot more of it. I can learn all the syntax of like certain programming languages, but if I never actually build something, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna remember
Dude,
anything.
the amazing thing about building stuff and taking action on the knowledge you've consumed is that you can instantly tell whether you have a passion for it or not. Because
Yeah,
you might hate coding, you might hate the fucking syntax of coding, you might hate everything about it. When you actually build an app and you look at the end result, what you built, you're like, holy fuck, this is amazing, and you might actually like it more. So I think doing is super important in this case.
hmm I agree. Well, like we have a mutual friend, Maria from Ohio State, and I remember she didn't really like most of the programming classes that we were having, because you're just doing like math problems, or you're doing like these brain teaser questions, and it's not super fun. But then we had a project where we were actually building something, and you had the freedom to go and make whatever you wanted, make changes. Like you could actually do real stuff, like actually think through cool problems that interested you. And for her, she was like, okay, this is actually so much more fun than just doing these ridiculous problems. And I think that's a really good representation of so many things in life. That's one of the reasons that I diss on school all the time, is I think you don't get to actually experience what the actual job would be like, especially in code. Because like in code, you're gonna be writing programs, you're gonna be building stuff, you're going through real world problems. You're not trying to do math problems like excessively with all of this code. And I think, yeah, maybe it's valuable to know in a lot of cases, depending on like what you go into specifically. But like, I think, building stuff and like providing, I think doing something that could potentially provide value to other people. So building an app that you might release and like maybe it helps somebody. I think that is so much more valuable than just like learning something randomly and just forgetting about it.
Yeah, and I think that sort of directed learning also just helps you stay more motivated.
Hmm.
And helps you like because you might see something as pointless, right? You might I feel like pointless is not a good word. I feel like we should do like we should probably find some better word, but like you might see something as not that fun for you and not that motivating, but like when you consider the bigger picture and when you factor in all these other people that might be affected by whatever you're making, I think that gives you a sense of direction, a sense of um, commitment to what you're doing. So there's that too.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it's like the directed learning and like learning to take action. I think it's like those two things are just super important. I want to reiterate that. You know, in
Yeah.
school we're taught to just like learn to learn, and I think that's such a bad model because by the time in the future that you actually end up using that, you can spend 4 years learning how to make a business, or you can just make the business and like fail through it a bunch of times until you eventually make one that works and you've learned a ton through all of that experience. And I think that's a better way of doing it. And also like finding mentors and people to do it. Actually something that's been really useful for code specifically is finding like Discord channels that people set up for like specific coding. So like Firebase or React or something, and like find a Discord, join it, and then you immediately have a whole network of people that are willing to help you. So like I think there are a lot of probably Discords and like other forums where you can find people to help you with things. But
Nice. You know what I'm doing now? I'm like writing down all the points that we have. So like when we go back, like we know like which order we talked about stuff in. So it's
mhm.
easy. So we have like timestamps. Super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that'd be pretty useful for the YouTube videos. Yes, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Not mentioned
Oh
it
yeah, we
in the
forgot
beginning,
to
but
mention that.
yes, you guys need to check it out. Subscribe. It's on our Red Circle homepage. You can find the link on there. So yeah, make sure to check that out. Yeah, so let's circle back to the point about like because you're like school is bad, right? Uh, Not school is bad, but I think like school is pointless or something. And I think that's true. That's super true. Depending on like what kind of person you are. So, like if you're like me or Andrew, like me and Andrew are like super directed in what we're doing, right? Like Andrew is super directed into entrepreneurship, starting new businesses. I'm super directed into code, software engineering, and so like we already know our path, and so um, we just feel like school is not providing as much value as it could be when we could be doing other things that could provide us more value. And so I think it's just knowing like where you are in your life, right? Like if you still don't know what you want to do, I think school is actually not that bad because school teaches you a lot of things, introduces you to a lot of subjects that you can like pick from, and I think it gives you a lot more experience like as a whole, like on a variety of subjects that you might enjoy. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's again, you know, be careful about saying that things are pointless. Again, like I do this all the time. But there might be so many things in your life that you deem, kind of pointless and useless that end up being super valuable in the future. And I think it's
Yeah,
important
but
to be wary of that.
you never know at that point. So I don't think it's worth it, like learning too much at the point. Like if you don't like
Yeah, I
coding, like
agree.
don't even learn it at the point because like you're not gonna learn anything if you don't like it.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just like yeah, it's always like because I think a problem a lot of people have is they consume more than they actually take action on, and so like you can read all the self help books you want, but like if you never take action on a
Yeah.
single advice in life, like what you've pretty much just wasted I don't know like countless hours just reading those books. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if you
There's
want
so
to
many.
if you do something, if you consume material, you better take action on it. You better like have the you better know that you are going to do something with it. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's like there are so many people that I see who are like, "Oh, I want to learn how to code." And it's like, "Okay, what do you plan to do with this knowledge? Like, are you trying to learn because you want to build an app? Like, great. Like, let me help. Like, are you trying to learn just because you want to learn? Like, because if you're just learning just to learn it, like again, you may use it down in the future, you may not. But I think even if you do, you'll probably have forgotten everything by that point. And so it's like, I think it's valuable to spend the time that you have at the moment to build things that you want to build that you think will be valuable for you or others in the near future. And so I think actually in that case, like living for the near future is a pretty good idea, because then you can actually like build things that are things that you might use pretty soon. You're not just like, oh, I want to build this at the end of my life, so I'm going to spend all of my time doing it when I'm nowhere near ready doing it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I just and I wouldn't say live in your future. I just say live in the present. Just like you better take action like right now. Like it doesn't have to like when people say take action right now or like living in the present, it doesn't mean actually like doing everything in the present moment. Like that's not what they mean. They just mean if you set a goal of tomorrow I am going to like work out in the morning, right? Like, and every subsequent day I'm gonna work out in the morning. And like the advice people give is like, oh, take action right now. Be in the present and stuff. And like a lot of people they just misinterpret that like, oh shit, I gotta do it today or something. And so like that's not what it means. Like take action, but like really small step, right? Like maybe like write in your journal or like put in your calendar tomorrow morning I'm gonna do this, or like take some kind of like or like make an alarm so like you're like more likely to actually wake up early in the morning and actually work out. So it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
like super large action. So it just has
yeah.
to be some sort of action.
I really dislike the phrase like live in the present, because it's like, I swear people like phrases like that are just so up to interpretation that I think so many people go down the wrong path because of it. And I think it's important to like, live your life now, but I think you can also get to a breaking point where it's like, oh, I live 100% for the now. So I don't think about my future at all because I'm so tied up in like trying
Well,
to
that's a
enjoy my
misinterpretation.
future.
That's not how you're supposed to interpret it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so like I think people have to be really careful about like the words that you use with that. Especially with like giving advice, like making sure that you are using the right words that you want and people aren't taking things the wrong way, I think is like super, super important. But that's kind of off topic.
I think that's the beauty of words too, right? Like the misinterpretation. Like sometimes
hmm
you can say something and it can be interpreted in like in a better way or like a worse way. So that's really interesting.
And the funny thing about that is that kind of ties in because there are a lot of times where you take something the complete opposite of what somebody meant it, and then you go off and you take action on that thing, and it ends up not being super pointless, and it ended up being like maybe the right thing for you.
I
Um,
see. Like that's why like advice is like really nuanced depending on the
mhm.
person. So
Yeah, I think this is why you just have to like you have to try a ton of things, but like again, things that you enjoy, because I think there's a lot of advice out there, and there's no one size fits all. There are a lot of people who will get rich or wealthy or really successful or happy doing very different things, and so I think trying out a bunch of things for you will be helpful. But again, it's like make sure that you're learning these things with the actual intention of building something or something specific, so you're not just like, oh, I want to learn this and then this. Like I remember
hmm.
signing up for like 100 Udemy courses and then just like not doing
Holy
like
fuck.
any of them. Yeah, I like barely did any of them. And so it's like, you know don't try to set your time up to be like I'm gonna take 700 tutorials this year, even though frankly I think taking 700 tutorials would be a lot more effective than people reading all these self-help books all the time. But
Yeah, I feel like tutorials are they're pretty good
I think they're valuable to
in
a
the
certain
aspect
extent.
that like in the aspect that like it it does everything right, right? Like it's like you're learning syntax, you're learning all you're consuming information, but you're also taking action, right? Because
Yeah.
tutorials they always include like some sort of example or like especially with code, right? They also include like some sort of project that you can work on. But like I think the thing they go wrong on is that like they do the stuff for the person taking the tutorial, right? I think like you should teach them the syntax and everything, but like you should have them do the project by themselves, not like actually guide them step by step through the project. So like I think that's like where it falls. But
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I think as long as you're taking that action, I think that's the really important part. And actually, this kind of goes into we talked about this a little bit before, when we were talking about this topic, like the idea of like pointless pain. Like, is there any kind of pain that's just absolutely pointless? And I mean, Kevin has just a good point on this, where it's just like there isn't really a pain that's pointless. Like, there's obviously pain that if you didn't have it, then maybe it would push you in a different direction that was maybe a little bit better off for you. but in any kind of pain that you're experiencing, whether it's like physical or like heartbreak or anything mentally, you're always getting stronger.
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's just I think it's always for me like it's all about like choosing what kind of pain to take. Oh,
Mhm.
holy fuck! There's a huge ass spider right there. What the fuck? Holy shit!
You gonna get it?
Fuck no, dude. Oh my god.
You scared of spiders?
Sort of.
Nice.
Well, no, I'm not that scared. I'm just surprised there's a fucking huge ass spider right there. All right, hopefully it
See,
doesn't come
this
over
is
my.
one of the examples of like a pain that's maybe a little bit good. Is like, I guess like fear you could kind of categorize as like a pain, but like being afraid of something like a spider or I guess like an elevator or something, like having to go through and deal with that pain to like get yourself to be unafraid.
Yeah, see, that's good. Yeah. What was I talking about? I was talking about pain. Do you remember?
Nope, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't fucking remember either. I saw the spider. I was like, fuck, and I forgot everything. I forgot everything I was talking about. But pointless. Yeah. So you were talking about pointless pain, and then I don't really remember. But yeah, no, I just feel like, yeah. Oh, there's this quote like fuck, what's the quote?
Well, I think I'll interject really quick. I think this is why you shouldn't ever look at yourself as a victim. Like, because there's no such thing as pointless pain, because everything is always pushing you in some way to make you stronger in one way or another. And so, like, I think if you keep yourself focused on that and you're like, this pain is just making me stronger,
Oh
I
yes,
think that is 100% the kind of mindset you should have. Like, don't victimize yourself. It's like you might have had total injustices that are completely wrong, but like, don't focus on it. Like, move forward with your life and like try to keep improving. Because like
okay, yeah.
honestly,
So
those pains will really help you. It's so funny when people talk about rich kids. Like I saw a statistic a few days ago where I think it was like 80% of wealth doesn't make it past like 2 or 3 generations. And so like most kids who grow up rich, like generations later on, their family won't even have that same wealth because somebody will, squander all of it. And so it's just like you know, being poor is honestly so much more of an advantage because your mind is reframed in a completely different way, because you're thinking about like, oh, how do I actually go and do this and how do I improve my situation instead of like a rich person who's just like give me stuff, because they're entitled.
yeah. So I remember what I was saying. So I was saying I was gonna equate pain to like mistakes, right? Because a lot of the mistakes we make, they cause us pain. And there's this quote, right? Like, we don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. And like I think that's the kind of mindset you need to have when approaching these sort of mistakes. Because like I made a lot of mistakes when talking to other people, and like but like I don't consider them pain. I consider them like learning opportunities for myself. And so I think equating like mistakes with pain, like I think mistakes are always super good because you can see like there's this like phrase where like like failing is like much better than winning because you learn much more from failing than from winning, right? So yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And it's so true. And I think this is why it's so valuable to be an underdog. Like think of yourself as an underdog in every situation. Like, even if you become like a billionaire or something, like walk into every room like you're the underdog, because I think that'll really reframe your
Yes,
mind into
because it
actually doing
always
things
leaves your
that can
mind
provide
open
more
to
value.
yeah. It always like
Yeah, and
leaves your mind open to like new ideas and criticism.
yeah,
Because a lot of fucking
yeah,
like
and they
successful
they
people,
talk
they just
about
like a lot of people, like a lot of successful people, they just have like this ego problem, I think. So
hmm I agree. And they talk about, it's like the wolf climbing the hill is always hungrier than the wolf on the hill. And so it's like, always be the wolf that's climbing the hill.
no
Always be
shit,
the one
dude. The
who's
wolf,
trying to
the wolf climbing
improve.
the hill is like
Yeah.
using more energy, bro. No shit, he's hungry. I think that's
Well,
the
well,
analogy, right? Like,
yeah. But like the point is like, always be the one who's trying to improve. Don't be the one that you think you're at the top, so you can't improve. Always try to keep going. Life is a never-ending hill that you're climbing up. That's a nice line. I like that.
yeah, let me write that down. Life is a never-ending hill that you keep climbing on.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
it's a never-ending hill that you just keep climbing, I guess. Yeah, something along those lines.
Hmm.
New
It's a pretty good
quotes,
quote.
compiling all my quotes. I actually
Yeah.
have a bunch of decent ones.
Yeah, dude, I used to write down like a lot of quotes. I still have them, dude. Let me look at them real quick.
Yeah, I have them in my memo on my phone.
Oh
I
my
haven't looked
gosh.
at
So
them
I
in
have
a
like all
while.
these different quotes, like becoming is better than being. And then oh, that quote I sent you last time, like oh my god, it's fucking hilarious. So like there's this girl like because a lot of people they shun billionaires. So like being a
Yeah.
billionaire when you walk in. So this is the quote, right? So it's from a TV show called Billions. Pretty sure some of you guys have watched it. Super good. So like the quote goes like, being a billionaire when you walk into a room, it's like being a woman with a perfect set of tits, great legs,
Yeah.
and a rise like yours. And because he's talking to a girl, and like you know exactly what everyone's looking at. You know exactly what they want. You know exactly what that's like. So like, yeah, because he's talking
Goodness.
to a girl, so he's telling this to a girl. So it's fucking
Yeah.
hilarious. Fucking love that
Wow.
quote. Um, yeah, and then like, oh my gosh, your world within. We interviewed him before, and he was like, one of his quotes is like, "Pain is only temporary, but suffering is forever." So like, I
Hmm.
think taking that pain now, so you don't suffer for like your entire life, is just much more useful.
Yeah,
Um,
it's actually really funny. Because like
yeah,
there's no, you go ahead because this would be a long
yeah. And I
story.
was gonna say this because a lot of yeah. So I think one thing I think of is about this is like, do you want to work for, oh shit, do you want to work forever under someone else, or do you want to like be like financially independent, work for yourself, so you aren't constrained to all these different office politics? And so like I think it's better you start early. We're so young, right? Like we have so much time to start new businesses and at least get one successful.
Mhm.
And I think this is a sort of pain that people need to take right now, especially young people who are listening to this podcast. Like, dude, you need to like, if you really want to become successful, you never become successful by working for someone else.
Yeah,
So I think like there's nothing wrong with working, for a company right now, like in your 20s, but like at the same time, you should have like a side business or like some side hustle that you're doing, so in the future you don't have to work for someone else. And so I think that's a pain that a lot of young people need to take, so they're suffering so they don't grow old suffering, like in their job and stuff. So
yeah. And so this is actually really a perfect example that ties into actually what I was gonna say. So my friend Presence, she talked about this person that she knows who doesn't want anything, and actually she wanted to have us have a conversation because I'm the kind of person who's like shoot for big things, and he was the kind of person who's like don't shoot for anything, just be super, just like don't have goals, do whatever. Um, and I really wanted to debate him. Unfortunately, he wouldn't do it. But it's just funny because
hate
it's
him.
like, yeah, well, I'd love to have a conversation about
You
like
should have
what
been
he's
like, I
thinking.
want to help him, and
Yeah,
then
honestly, but it's so funny because he was talking about, he's like, I just want to make money so I can you know give my parents stuff, and I'm just like, bro, if you don't work hard or go for any kind of goal or dream, you're not gonna have a ton of money to help
well,
your
no, that's,
parents.
I like that. I really like what he said, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and so
that's one
it's
of the
like,
reasons I work hard, right? I want
yeah,
to I want to be successful enough for like, um I don't have to worry about my parents, health and stuff. So
yeah,
just
exactly.
in case something like some accident happens that you never know. So
This is what makes me so furious. Is like people talk about rich people that are like selfish. I'm like, most rich people aren't selfish. Like they worked super hard, so their daughter and their son will never have to like struggle to go to college.
well, I don't want
So
that for
like
my
they can,
kids though, but like
well,
some
yeah,
people
yeah,
do, but
but
like I
like,
don't.
so they can, but so like they'll never have to really like have a life where they're struggling to put food on the table. And like, I think that there's a lot of merit in that goal, and it's something that it motivates me as well. It's like I never want to look at my future family and be like, oh yeah, we have nothing because I wasted my whole life away. And so I think people, I think striving for something is not bad. There's virtue in striving to create value to others. There's no virtue in just being poor for the rest of your life because you didn't provide value. Again, if rich people aren't holding you back, it's you holding you back every time. And that's the frustrating thing, is just there's such a negative attitude about around rich people. But these are people who are trying to push themselves, go through pain. It's pain that you might think is pointless, but it's to provide value to others.
Well, I wouldn't say it's, oh, I yeah, so I wouldn't say it's pointless at this point. Oh,
Well,
that's
I
kind of
yeah,
redundant.
well,
So
I
it's
think
not,
some
I
people
think
would.
I have a better word. So instead of pointless, I think it's pain that is just too much, because a lot of the pain, because a lot of, so like it's not that a lot of the stuff that rich people do, like anyone can do it. But I think the question is, are you willing to expend the effort? Are you willing to, take even more pain than you have right now? And I think a lot of these people that have this stigma towards rich people, they aren't willing to take that pain. They aren't willing to do the things that a lot of people don't, and they just like you say, like they're just trying to tear down. They're just trying to tear down other people's buildings instead of building their own. So
Mhm.
that's the
And
best they
actually,
can do.
it's like this is a really good point. Is there's pain in every choice you make. Because you're always missing out on something. There's always an opportunity cost, and there's always a what if. And so you're always going to feel pain no matter what you do, no matter how good of a choice you make. You'll always have some kind of pain from like somebody hitting on you, or all of these additional things. And so it's like trying to think about where you want to go, what you want to do, and like what's going to be the pain that's going to be there. Is it going to be the pain of regret? Is it going to be the pain of like, oh, my family has nothing and we're poor? Is it going to be the pain of judgment? Like, what's the pain that you're going to be facing? And are you okay with going through that? If you want to work 24/7, are you okay with the pain of maybe not having as strong of a family bond? Like, I think that's super important, is like, for whatever goals you have, figure out what the pain is going to be, figure out where you're going to have to give up,
Mhm.
and make sure that you're okay with that. Because again, you don't need to work 24/7. Like I'm somebody who wants to work a lot. But whenever I have a family in the future, I probably won't work as much. And it's like, there are people who, even with families, like Elon Musk, still work, all the time. And so it's like, do you just make sure you're okay with what you're giving up and the pain that you're going through?
Definitely, yeah. I think life is like all about doing more things right, such that your mistakes don't even matter at that point.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Like
think I think it's
learn from mistakes, and grow from your pain, and through those experiences, like you can like do more things right in the future. So like these don't even matter anymore. So
Yeah, and it's more important that you can live with yourself than what anyone else thinks. Stand up for what you believe. Like I've said this before, in any when anything is wrong, there's always a silent majority. And you have to speak up about what you believe in all the time. And no matter if it's related to like politics or something else, or just like some incident on the street, like you've always got to stand up for what you believe in, because it's more important that you can look back on that day and that time and be like, I'm proud of what I did. And I think that's more important than what anyone else thinks. Is like, you can think about your actions and be like, you know what, I'm happy with myself. I think it's so valuable.
the I think the beauty about that is to it also builds your confidence in yourself, your self esteem,
Yeah,
right? Because when you do all these minor things that you believe in without like anyone else noticing, I think it builds so much confidence in yourself because you're like, wow, I'm doing something for myself, and so it's good. It's very good. It's like
yeah,
it's like spending time in nature too. Like I think spending time in nature like helps confidence so much because like when you're around nature, like even if you think self-deprecating thoughts, like they just go away in an instant because there's no one near you. There's literally no one near you, so like there's no one to judge you about what you're doing, about what you're wearing, about how you look, and so yeah, just some side thought.
yeah. And I think also it's like, people, I don't know why we're so afraid of judgment, but something that's really helped me is just like the desire to want to truly be me. And again, this ties into like don't, as long as you're doing what you believe in, like just do that no matter what the consequences are. And I think it really ties into that, because it's like, you know, who cares what anyone else is thinking, because your thoughts about you are the only ones that matter. If you love what you're doing, then like do that. If you love being a garbage man, don't let anyone, tell you that you shouldn't be that. Do whatever you want to do. I think people need to stop shaming others for doing too much or doing too little.
100%, 100%. I think that is a wrap for this episode. We touched on a lot of great. This was actually like much better
Yeah,
than our previous
yeah,
episode.
it's
Not
fun.
gonna
It's
lie,
fun.
it was much more directed. I feel, and we got a lot more points about pain. Like we talked about is school really bad? Because a lot of yeah. So we actually condensed a lot of these topics that um, yeah. So like, is school bad or not? And like, it's not that simple, right? There's always much more nuance to any topic we talk about. So yeah, so I guess the bottom line is nothing is ever pointless. It's only pointless if you think it is, but when you really look into it deeper, like you see it's not pointless because you can always learn from anything. So
Yeah,
always trying to find whenever you fail, whenever you make a mistake, whenever you encounter some sort of pain, always try to find like, how could I have avoided this? How can I grow from this? How can I do better next time? So
Yeah, and
um,
I think it's really important to like always check, the pains that you're going through. School isn't going to be pointless, but there are definitely other things that you might be able to do that could provide better benefits. And so always like pay attention to the opportunity
yeah.
costs.
Also on this note too, I'll always just especially with school, right? Like, even though, so if you're like me or Andrew, like, school may be pretty pointless in the fact that like we're learning a shit ton of things that we don't need to, but it can also be pretty good. It can also provide value in the fact that we are meeting a lot of pretty cool people at school. Like, we're meeting a lot of friends there, and so I think that's a value point as well. Like, you're meeting these people, and you're like, yeah, you're just meeting these people. You're meeting new connections that could, potentially go somewhere in the future. So there's that aspect of school. Yeah, and we talked about like being more focused, and talk about how taking action helps you find your passion when you may think something is initially like pointless in the beginning. And do I remember for rap? Like, I used to hate rap before. I thought it was like the shittiest thing in the world. And then I don't know, like I literally love rap now, and it's just like I found that so pointless, so like shit in the future, and no, in the past, but like now I find it like actually super valuable. So pretty interesting on that part. So um, yeah, and like yeah, so just know that any advice is nuanced. So just try to take action on everything that you can. So yeah, I mean, that's a wrap. Make sure to give us a review on Apple on iTunes if you liked it, and sub if you loved it. And see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.